So what is the non-collagenous matrix's role in mineralization process? Huh? Um, they have role in the initiation and regulation of mineralization process. Non-matrices, non-collagenous matrices role. In talk about non-collagenous matrices role. What causes sensitivity in the cemento-enamel junction? Gingival recession exposes the cemento-enamel junction and exposes the cemento-enamel junction and in gap junction and sensitivity results due to exposed dentine in gap junction. Okay. So gingival recession results in exposed CEJ and sensitivity occurs due to exposed dentine in gap junction. Yeah. So what is the definition of cemento-enamel junction? Cemento-enamel junction is the junction between cementum and the enamel. That meet at a sharp line. So what is the enamel overlap cementum pattern? So enamel enamel overlap the cementum at the enamel overlap the cementum at the cementum at the cervical region, but this is controversial because cementum formation takes place only after the enamel formation is completed. What is cemento-dental junction? Junction between cementum and dentine. Dentine and cementum of a tooth, which is relatively straight in contrast to in scalloped DG dento-enamel junction. So cemento-dental. So we have cemento-dental junction is junction between dentine and cemento-dental junction is which is relatively straight in contrast to scalloped dentino-enamel junction. So CDJ is straight, relatively straight in contrast to scalloped DJ. It's a junction between dentine and cementum distinct in cellular cementum. Yes, it is somewhat distinct in junction between dentine and cementum is junction between dentine and cementum is somewhat distinct. Somewhat distinct in cellular cementum. What is cemento-dentinal junction? Junction between cementum and dentine. It is comparatively straight in comparison to dentino-enamel junction. Scalloped dentino-enamel junction. So what is the difference between cellular and acellular cementum in terms of cemento-dentinal? Cemento-dentinal junction is distinct in cellular cementum. Yeah. So cemento-enamel. So cemento-dentinal junction is distinct in cellular cementum and not distinct in acellular cementum. How can the cemento-dentinal junction be? How can the cemento-dentinal junction be identified in decalcified sections? It can be identified easily because how can cemento-dentinal junctions be how can cemento dendritic junctions be identified in? How can cemento-dendritic junctions be identified in decalcified sections? It can be identified. Cemento-dendritic junctions can be easily identified because cementum stains more intensely. Because cementum stains more intensely than dentin. So cemento-dendritic junction can be identified in decalcified sections. How are the collagen fibrils of dentin and cementum different? The collagen fibers of dentin are dispersed. The collagen fibers of dentin are dispersed. How are the collagen fibers? So how are the collagen fibers of dentin and how are the collagen fibers of dentin and cementum different? The collagen fibers of dentin are how are the collagen fibers of dentin and cementum different? The collagen fibers of dentin are dispersed. The collagen fibers of dentin are dispersed randomly, while those of cementum are more orderly arranged and aggregated into randomly arranged. Dispersed collagen fibers of dentin are dispersed randomly, while those collagen fibers of cementum are more orderly arranged and aggregated into and aggregated into discrete bundles. Dispersed randomly, while other it is orderly arranged. Orderly arranged are more and aggregated into discrete bundles. Aggregated into discrete bundles. So and what is the significance of what is the significance of intertwining fibers at the cemento-dendritic junction? Intertwining fibers. What is the significance of intertwining fibers in cemento-dendritic junction? The intertwining fibers, along with the proteoglycans present, the intertwining fibers. The intertwining fibers, along with proteoglycans present, twinning fibers, along with the proteoglycans present between, contribute to contribute to attachment between cementum and dentin. The intertwining fibers, along with the proteoglycans present between, contribute to attachment between cementum and dentin. So what is the significance of intertwining fibers in cementum junction? The intertwining fibers, along with the proteoglycans in between, contribute to attachment between cementum. So intertwining fibers, along with the proteoglycans in between, contribute to attachment between dentin and cementum in the intertwining fibers. So what is the hyaline layer of Hopewell-Smith? It was thought to be a 10 micron thickness layer separating dentin and cementum. So what is hyaline layer, or what is hyaline layer of Hopewell-Smith? What is hyaline layer of Hopewell Smith? It was thought to be a 10 micron thickness layer. Uh, uh, so what is hyaline? Hopewell Smith is thought to be a 10 micron thickness layer separating dentine and 10 microns. Hyaline layer of Hopewell Smith is a 10 microns thickness layer separating dentine and cementum. What is the function of cementum in the what is the function of cementum in periodontium? It is the mineralized component, non-mineralized component. Non-mineralized component, I think so. Cementum is one of the components periodontium, which is the attachment apparatus of the tooth. What is the function of cementum in the periodontium? Cementum is one of the components of the cementum is one of the components of the cement. What is the function? What is the function of cementum? So what is the function of what is the function of cementum in the periodontium? Cementum is one of the cementum is one of the components. Cementum is one of the components. Cementum is one of the components of periodontium, which is the attachment apparatus of the tooth. So, what is the function of cementum in periodontium? Cementum is cementum. Cementum is one of the cementum is one of the component of periodontium, which is the attachment apparatus. Which is the attachment apparatus of the tooth. It covers the forms the outer layer of the forms the covering outer covering of the surface, outer covering of the root of the tooth. Acellular cementum. What is the function of acellular cementum? Acellular cementum is primarily involved in attachment. So what is the function of acellular cementum? Acellular cementum is primarily involved in acellular cementum is primarily involved in acellular cementum is primarily involved in acellular cementum is primarily primarily involved in attachment. No, cellular cementum is function is attachment. Now, cellular cementum at times is absent in some teeth. Particular cellular cementum is not always present in teeth. At times it is absent in anterior teeth, indicating that it is not. At times it is absent in anterior teeth. Indicating that it is not essential. Particular anterior teeth, indicating that it is not essential for attachments. So, cellular cementum is not always present. At times it is absent in some teeth, particularly in anterior teeth, indicating that it is not essential for attachment. What happens when the cells from the inner part of dental follicle comes in contact with the what happens when the cells from the inner part of dental follicle come in contact? What happens when the cells from the inner part of dental follicle. What happens? What happens when the cells? What happens when the cells from the inner part of what happens? So question is, what happens when the cells from the inner part of a dental follicle come in contact with the newly formed dentin? Inner part of a dental follicle come in contact with the newly formed dentin. These infiltrating dental follicle cells differentiate into cementoblasts under inductive influence of dentin or Hedwig's epithelial root sheath. So what happens when the cells from the inner part of dental follicle come in contact with the newly formed dentin? These infiltrating dental follicle cells differentiate into cementoblast under inductive influence of dentin or Hedwig's epithelial root sheath. So what happens when the cells from the inner part of the dental follicle come in contact with the newly formed dentin? These infiltrating dental follicle cells differentiate cementoblast These infiltrating dental follicle cells differentiate cementoblast under the inductive influence of dentin or Hedwig's epithelial root sheath. Okay, Hedwig's epithelial root sheath. So what happens when the cells from the inner part of the dentin or dental follicle come in contact with the newly formed dental follicle? So these infiltrating dental follicles differentiate into cementoblast under the inductive influence of dentin or Hedwig's epithelial root sheath. Yes, the junction between dentin and cementum is distinct. Yes, it is somewhat distinct. So the junction between dentin and cementum is distinct. So the junction between dentin and cementum is somewhat distinct in cellular cementum. What is cemento-dentinal junction? Junction between cementum and dentin, which is relatively straight in contrast to the scalloped DHA. So what is cemento-dentinal junction? Cemento-dentinal junction is junction between cementum and the enamel, which is relatively straight in contrast to scalloped dentino-enamel junction. How can the cemento-dentinal junction be identified in decalcified sections? Cemento-dentinal junctions can be identified in decalcified because the cementum is densely stained than dentin. Because the cementum is densely stained than dentin, or more intensely stained than dentin. How are the collagen fibers of dentin and cementum different? The collagen fibers of dentin are dispersed randomly, whereas that of cementum are arranged in a proper manner and grouped into fibrils. Grouped into bundles called fibrils. Orderly arranged, properly arranged, and grouped into bundles, aggregated into discrete bundles. Yeah. In cementum they are more regularly arranged, orderly arranged, and aggregated into discrete bundles. Okay, where cementum are more regularly arranged and grouped into discrete bundles and aggregated into discrete bundles. What matrix formation and mineralization, matrix deposition, mineralization. What are some non-collagenous proteins, collagenous proteins found in cementum? So cementum derived. So what are some non-collagenous proteins found in cementum? Cementum derived attachment protein, osteocalcin, cement. So what are the non-collagenous proteins found in cementum? So we have cementum derived attachment protein. We have osteocalcin, osteonectin, tenascin, osteonectin. We have osteonectin, fibronectin. We have tenascin. So we have osteonectin and fibronectin. Okay, we have calcin. We have calcin and osteocalcin, osteonectin, fibronectin. Then tenascin. Yeah. Alkaline phosphatase, proteoglycans. Alkaline phosphatase. So 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay. Then we have proteoglycans such as chondroitin sulfate, heparin sulfate, hyaluronate. Chondroitin sulfate. So we have proteoglycans like heparin sulfate, chondroitin sulfate, hyaluronate, as well as several growth factors have been identified in cementum. So what are some non-collagenous proteins? So cementum derived attachment proteins: osteocalcin, osteonectin, fibronectin, tenascin. Then we have proteoglycans such as hyaluronate, chondroitin sulfate, heparin sulfate, and several growth factors are also identified in cementum. We also have alkaline phosphatase. What are the non-collagenous proteins? We have calcium derived attachment proteins. Then we have calcium derived attachment proteins. We have fibronectin, osteocalcin, osteonectin, tenascin, alkaline phosphatase, for proteoglycans such as proteoglycans such as we have proteoglycans. Proteoglycans such as what? Hyaluronate, chondroitin sulfate, heparin sulfate, and several growth factors are also been identified in cementum. So what is the significance of intertwining fibers at the cementum junction? Intertwining fibers along with the proteoglycans in between provide help in the attachment between cementum and the dendrin. That is the significance of intertwining fibers in cementodendral junctions. So what is the hyaline layer of? It is the layer, 10 micron layer between the 10 micron layer. between the dentine and cementum is called as the hyaline layer of Hopple-Smith. Hopple-Smith is the 10 layer thick, 10 micron layer thick, between dentine and cementum is actually a hyaline layer of Hopple-Smith.